It's not smiling. Hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Our Turf Football Podcast. Today we are going to talk NFC North. Joining me as my co-host, me and Kate are going to take the reins tonight, is Cleveland Kate. Everybody also welcome Wanda. She is going to cover the Bears, and we're just going to let her go because I got a lot to say about this Bears draft. So we're going to save the best for last, so we'll hit the Bears. But first, we're going to talk about the Green Bay Packers. We'll start off the Green Bay Packers because, of course, they lost Devontae Adams. And honestly, girls, I don't honestly think it matters. I kind of put wide receiver in here with them. Anybody you plug and play with Aaron Rodgers, he always seems, he's got that Tom Brady effect, always can make these guys into superstars. So it's always interesting to see, how these guys will do when they go to new teams without these type of quarterbacks like an Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, stuff like that. So I just kind of wanted to get you guys' insight on what you think about the Green Bay Packers, Kate. Maybe.
Did I lose you? Did it just cut out?
I got you.
I mean, it's all about Aaron Rodgers, and wherever his headspace is, what he does is what they're going to do. I'm still not sure how they finished 13-4 last year. I did not think they were going to bounce back after that mess of a preseason they had and everything that was going on in training camp, and then that week one beatdown they took. But you mentioned you compared Aaron to Tom Brady, and he's that kind of guy. You can't count him out. Right. It doesn't matter who he's got to throw the ball to or who they have to run the ball. He's going to find a way to get things done and defy the odds. Playoff wise, I don't know. It almost felt like it caught up with them at the end of the year last year. So I think while they rolled into the playoffs again at 13-1, I think they still left a lot of questions for themselves. And I wasn't thrilled with their options in the draft and with the moves, with the people they took. But this is a team that really didn't have glaring holes. They needed to do a little bit of work on their depth, which I think they did. So, that's kind of where I'm at with the Packers. It's really as simple as you said. How Aaron Rodgers goes is how that team goes.
I have to agree. I agree with the both of you there. He'll probably make a star out of Lazard and let him play. I think whoever they put as wide receivers, as long as he's still got that magic touch and gets that ball to them, all they need to do is catch it and run. So I think they'll do the same competition as they always do. I'm hoping that it's actually going to be a competition with all the teams on the NFC North, and it's not just a free giveaway to Green Bay. I mean, at some point they have to have some type of a competition in the NFC North. So it'd be nice to see something going there forward. And plus the fact that Aaron Rodgers did lose Luke Getsy over to the Chicago Bears.
True.
And he really did like Getsy. He was very attached to Getsy. So, we'll see what happens. They'll probably let him do whatever he does. And then it just all depends on, I think, team camaraderie and leadership and all that. That all counts as well. So,
I mean, Lisa, from a draft perspective, they had 2 first-round picks and went defense with both of them. Were you surprised?
Yeah, I was, especially with losing. But then again, this draft was so bizarre, Kate, that it was like all the receivers were just, if you didn't think it was, I honestly think, and like I said, we're going to definitely dive into it with the Bears here. I just think they went best player available. I really do. I because it's so hard to compare this draft of what you needed. Because certainly, they obviously are very happy with Sammy Watkins and Randall Cobb. I mean, obviously, they think Sammy Watkins is going to come in. And like I said, I think they just put it on Aaron and got his insight probably this time of, do you think, and, what best player available. But it also could stem back from, like you said, in the playoffs. Their defense let them down. So they, really needed to go best player available in the defense. And I think that's what they did.
Yep.
So
Yeah, they did.
Shore up that line, get a running back, and you see what happens.
I mean, I'm looking at their cap numbers.
Right.
They've got $60 million, and they were in the hole by $30 million or better at the beginning of this year, at the beginning of the calendar year as the offseason started. So a lot of the moves and the things that they've done have freed up that space for them. But at the same time, $16 million isn't a lot, depending on what they want to do between now and, when camp gets started. And if they decide, if there's any wide receivers out there they want to make a run at, if there's anybody left, or Lord, God forbid any injuries once we start OTAs and that, they've got a little bit to play with. So we'll see.
Yeah. And you're going to have to catch, obviously, when you go into the division. Next up would be the Detroit Lions, and the strides that Dan Campbell has made this year. And I'm still not a big believer in golf. I still think they're going to try to kind of target a quarterback next year, or try to, do something, because I think he was exposed, with the Rams. He's going to take you only as far as he can. And he's going to be one of those managers to me. I'm going to use that word, team manager, game manager, and I'm going to use it. And when you're going to need somebody to take it home, that was my biggest beef with him, is he could not do it. He could not make that step to that elite stat to put that team on his back. If you put things in front of him, I think you'll be fine. Those little outs, yards after catch are going to be huge for him. I thought they had one of the better drafts, though. I mean, being as how they really, picked it up. And I think when you look at Dan Campbell and the team responds to him, even when he's down in Miami, these players respond to him. And I think that's going to be huge. I think Detroit's going to make a huge step up this year.
Well, and I thought from a draft day standpoint, the trade with Minnesota, I just found interesting, because I thought Detroit totally got the better end of that deal. And that's with someone in your division. Like, I just thought the whole thing was weird. But, we all loved Aiden Hutchinson. I think when you and me and Sonia did our draft preview show, we had him locked in for the Lions, and they did not disappoint, by taking him, not just for the talent he has off on the field, but the character and his mindset and everything. He just really fits in with what Dan Campbell wants to do. So that, for that pick alone, I was like, thank you for not doing something stupid and messing it up. So, that was an easy one. But I mean, really in general, of all the people that they got, I just thought they did really well for themselves. And they really did. That was a team with a lot of holes and a lot of issues that need to be addressed. And now it really is, in my mind, riding on Goff's shoulders, because they fixed, if things pan out, they fixed a lot of the glaring problems they had. And it's going to be about quarterback, especially in this division when you've got to go up against Aaron Rodgers twice a year.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And Wanda, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
no worries.
Especially, when we're going to put the Bears up in there too, because like I said, I think the Bears are a little bit ahead of the Lions in that division, especially when it comes to quarterback. And, I think we all agree that Goff isn't the long-term quarterback for this team.
Right. Exactly. And if you can tell they're giving it like a one more year, one more whirl there for Goff. They addressed the defense in the offseason, got a bunch of defensive players. They got DJ Chark out of Jacksonville. So they have him as wide receiver, a little addition. And then it all depends on whether Goff can get that ball in and take care of the ball. That was a huge issue. He had a lot of interceptions and he couldn't take care of the ball. So now, if they get him the defense, if they get the protection, it seems to me like Campbell's like the rest of us that believe that defenses can win games. It's let's take care of the defense. Let's make it a competition, at least stop the other ones from, basically stop the bleeding and give us a chance to score and do something.
We'll get some better field position. Starting at your own 20 after a touchback is not good either. Now they've got sitting on the bench behind Jared, Tim Boyle, who was undrafted and was with the Packers for a couple years, and then David Blau, who again went undrafted but ended up playing was on the Browns roster for a couple years. It's interesting to me that's who their backups are. That it's not they didn't take a swing at somebody this year. They haven't signed a veteran. another veteran clipboard holder, if you will. There's a number of them in the league. And we've talked about, Tyrod Taylor and a few other guys that we know are starting somewhere to mentor those young rookies on the bench. And they've basically got two unproven fill-ins. But I don't know if that gives Jared Goff more time or less time before they yank him and throw, Blau, I could see starting soon. He's had some game experience, even though he's got he's been in the league a year less than Tim Boyle. I believe he's got more games, or at least more plays taking more snaps in games. So I don't know if Jared feels the pressure, if that's a good thing for him or a bad thing for him. There are quarterbacks in this league that thrive when they know there's someone sitting right there on the bench waiting for their job. They tend to do a little better.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see how really not having anyone chasing him, how that affects Jared.
Yep.
Yeah, it's true.
It's true. And like frankly, it might be the right mindset for him. Nobody has loved him anywhere he has been. Nobody has really thought he could do anything. And I think he felt at every place that he's been that his job was under fire every single week. And so maybe this is the right place for him to have a little mentally. Maybe he needs to not have that guy chasing him.
That's true. And like I said, he might, but like I said, he's a great game manager. Like I said, I think he's going to win you some games. He'll win him some games. I still think there'll be, I don't have them playoff bound yet until they get a quarterback. I really don't. I think they're going to need to sit there, like we talked about last week with this new this group of quarterbacks that's coming out. If you can be in, and I hate to say the top 5 pick, you're going to have a pretty good quarterback to pick from.
Yeah. With next year's class, absolutely.
So I still think I put him in the top 5 pick. I really do. I hate to say it. I think they'll improve, but I don't see them. I see a top 5 pick coming up for them, and I think they're going to go after a long-term quarterback. So,
yeah, I mean, he's got to continue to improve on his interception numbers. He's gotten better. Yeah. His worst year was 2019, where he threw 16. And then 13, and then only 8 last year, but he only threw 19 touchdown passes. I mean, that's pretty close to 50-50. He's got to manage the game a little better than that. This team cannot afford to give the ball away, which I think also takes us back to shoring up the defense, maybe getting more takeaways this year and better field position for the offense.
Which we know Dan will do. Dan's definitely going to put, and they'll play their hearts out for him. There's no doubt about that. Speaking of teams that they play hard out, the Vikings are very interesting to me. We're going under a whole new regime this year, new coach in Kevin O'Connell, but the offense is virtually unchanged. This is the same squad that, continuity is nice, but we have basically the same Vikings team that we saw last year. So is a coach going to matter? It's kind of hard to see with him leading this charge. What are we going to see? What are we expecting from the Vikings? I think
they were the most
the 12th pick.
Yeah, they were the most average team to me, if that makes sense. They were 8-9, and I'm pretty sure their points for and points against were like within 1 or 2 points of the total. Like they were just even and average across all. It was like neither side of the ball really stuck out. They were just right in the middle, and it's got to tip one way or another. They were just very underwhelming. I think a lot of us thought they would have, I know I'm one of the crazy people who didn't think the Packers were going to win that division, but I wasn't the only one who thought Minnesota would at least give them a run for their money, and they didn't. They very much underperformed for what, preseason expectations. There were a lot of teams suffered from that last year, but the Vikings was definitely in my top 5 of teams that I thought should have been a lot better than 8-9.
I agree there because they had, Cousins is a terrible quarterback. He can at least throw the ball and he can get, he can make plays. The problem with Cousins is that when he gets pushed in that pocket, he just panics.
Right.
And when he panics, he just makes it harder on the team to recover from because he panics at the worst time. So he needs to just get that together, get a really good rhythm with his playmakers because he's got some good playmakers. So not to waste that opportunity, he needs to do what is best for that team and lead the team the way He knows he can, but if he continues to not deal with pressure in the pocket, it's going to be the same story.
And that pushed them trading down, because they traded down several times to pick up a couple interior linemen, because the biggest thing, like Wanda just hit on, was that interior middle quick pressure that they were putting on him. And so that was a lot of his issues, just like you said, was that pressure up the middle. You flush him out of the pocket, and who's he throwing to? Adam Thielen. Everybody in the world knows the ball's going to Adam Thielen.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they took a safety after they moved down and did all that stuff. They ended up taking that safety, Louis Cine out of Georgia, which was a great pick. Nice safety. And really it's going to help on the defensive side of the ball. I wish they had made a bigger splash on their offensive line, because to Wanda's point, they need somebody who Kirk can believe is going to protect him. And he clearly doesn't trust his line. And there were times last year where he was scrambling and left the pocket, and he still had another second or two before that pocket collapsed. He could have stayed there a little bit longer, but he doesn't trust them. Clearly doesn't trust his line. And so I was kind of hoping they would pick up somebody in free agency or get him a whoopee on the line. So, we talk a lot about these quarterbacks who need a receiver that they're comfortable with. He's got that. He's got rhythm with Thielen and with the other people that he's got coming back. They're going to run that same offense. That's going to be fine. But I just don't know that they did enough to make him comfortable with that line to feel protected.
Yeah. And that's the difference.
I guess they can all. Yeah.
I'm sorry. That's the difference between him and Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers, he has, even if he's got a poor offensive line, he doesn't panic. He knows how to move out of pocket. He can make the plays on the run. That's the quarterback that you need. And if Cousins can do the same thing and not show that he's in panic mode, he can make some plays to his playmakers. But he's got, like, Kate says, he needs that security blanket to get him to get some plays at least, down the field.
Yeah. I mean, I'm looking at his numbers from last year. He threw 33 passes and only had 7 interceptions. That's amazing. The problem is when he had those 7 interceptions, they were game-ending, game-turning mistakes. They were, you know what I mean? And that's the problem. 7 looks like a really nice number compared to 33, right? It's almost 1 for 5. I would love that if I had a quarterback with that. Except they were at the absolute wrong time. And, you can affect the entire game and the momentum and everything else with that. So he needs to get his head right and get a little more. But he's a classic game manager.
That's been in the league for how many years now? I mean, if it isn't going to come, I don't expect it to come now.
Right.
We're not talking about a year 2, year 3 guy here. We're talking a guy that's been in this league that has run this offense for the last several years. And every single year we talk about the same thing with him. These inopportune times that he throws interceptions, and once again, the same thing. So does that fall into a game manager type thing where your stats are great? You can win games, but that game that you need to put your team on your back, you need to make the throws or not make the throws. Don't squeeze anything in there. But I mean, at times Cousins looks great. I agree with you guys. I mean, stat wise, you look at the stats on this guy the last couple of years, and even in fantasy football, the guy puts up great numbers.
Right.
But damn, I mean, it's that one costly play that it just seems like every single year we talk about Cousins doing, to put his team, in the hole, or, but times I think the kid plays great, but he's a veteran. But it's just kind of like.
I wish our Vikings friend was watching tonight, because maybe he could explain to me. I don't know why the fans aren't screaming for his job. You know what I mean? I haven't heard a lot of the fans complaining. They're making all kinds of excuses for him, but I haven't seen the backlash that other quarterbacks. You look at Ryan Tannehill in Tennessee, the season he had last year, and then he loses a playoff game, and the fans want to cut him off at the knees and ship him out and get someone new. And I'm like, I'm not seeing a lot of hate for Kirk Cousins. I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm starting to see it with Ryan.
They don't have a lot on their bench. They don't have a lot on his bench following him either. So
we're starting to see a little bit. And it's going to be interesting to see what. So let's all agree that this Vikings team, the coaching is going to be the difference here, right? I mean, are we going to be looking for a change to see if there's something that these coaches are going to bring that Zimmerman couldn't bring?
Yeah, I don't know that Zimmer did anything wrong. I mean, he was who he was in Cincinnati is exactly who he was in Minnesota. They got exactly what they wanted from him, and he did his thing. But for a defensive minded coach, that defense slipped a lot. The longer he was there, I was just like,
right.
I thought your defense would be a little better, dog. You're on Hard Knocks, swearing up a storm and getting all this attention. And the Bengals defense was good back then when they couldn't get their offense going. And you stole them to the Vikings. I'm like, all right, there's a defense that can handle Aaron Rodgers. No, it wasn't ever. So
yeah,
I
don't know. We'll see. I think we're gonna have to talk about the Bears now, Wanda.
Yeah, let's talk about my Bears.
The Bears.
All right, I'm gonna start a question because who's 6-11 to throw the ball to? Who's Justin Fields? They did absolutely zero to help this kid in this draft and in free agency. You have got to explain to me, Wanda, why.
I don't. The way that I'm looking at Ryan Poles, and this could be a complete guess at it, because of the amount of draft picks they had. So they didn't have much. The previous GM, and head coach did nothing to help the team, but put them in a huge cap space. So they had to get rid of players. They had to get it down so they can do some trading, do some things to get some players. So they went from 6 picks to 11 picks, and they went DBs back to back, which shot the heck out of me. Back to back. But they're looking at, again, here's the defense in the NFC North. They need defense. So they're going to build the defense. But now they want to build around the QB strengths. They want to build around field strengths. So they got a couple of wide receivers that is a little questionable to me why they went that direction. But I did like the Velus Jones pick in the draft. I think he's underrated. I think he's actually a pretty good player. So I want to give that kid a chance to prove himself and to do what he thinks. Mooney is a good wide receiver. I think he's a great wide receiver. He can get the ball in, but he reminds me a lot of Julian Edelman in a way that he's that gadget player that can come in and out. But I think he's a good wide receiver, and he's one that Fields trusts. However,
what's the matchup there?
That's the thing. Equinemius St. Brown didn't really do much in Green Bay. And I don't know where he fits in that unless they're trying to do a balanced offense with a run game and maybe, and pass. But I know that Luke Getsy is going towards the pass action plays. He wants to do a lot of the rollouts. So he's trying to get a moving quarterback out and try to get the ball out quicker, because that's one of the things that Fields worked on this offseason is getting the ball out quicker, changing his stance and his feet. So he doesn't want to stand in the pocket and get all the fumbles. But you're right. What are they going to do? They got Dante Pettis, right? They got Pringle. Now Pringle, we have to see what he's going to do.
About Pringle, free agent pickup.
Yeah, I think Byron Pringle, let's see what he does, because when given the opportunity, he had, I think he had 5 or 7 touchdowns last season. So it wasn't too bad. And again, he's competing with Tyreek Hill. So now, now there's no competition there except for let's see what you can do. So Pole's whole thing is he wanted players on this team that were willing to fight for the team and play, give their heart and soul, give it. It's not a paycheck. It's not, hey, I'm on a team. I want to see what you guys can do for this team. So with everybody's thought process of the Bears being this, this is a rebuild season. Yeah, it is a rebuild because it started from the top all the way, except for the McCaskies. I don't think they'll ever leave, nor the other dude. But it's all, from the head coach, Matt Eberflus, to Luke Getsy, You have Alan Williams as the defensive coordinator. All from the Shanahan tree there. You got these guys coming, and they cleaned everything out. Now they have a whole different coaching staff, and in this case with Fields, they want to build him as the leader of this team. So they're looking to build around, which is great. We saw what he did in Ohio State. Let's see what he can do for the Bears in this season. But it's going to take some time. I think it may be another year for them to get into a playoff, but you never know. My mentality has always been, I don't care what team you are. If you're going to play, your mentality should be, we're going to play to win. Not we're going to play to just do a half season and wait till next year. Every single team needs to have that mentality to win, period. Now, it all depends on all these players and what they put out on that field, what they leave there every single week. And the play calling has got to matter. It can't be about the coach. We already dealt with that. So it's got to be about winning as an entire team. And it looks like that's what Coach Flus is trying to really push out on this team, as putting it out there, making the plays, building each other up, making sure that they're playing as a team. The defense last year last couple of years for Indianapolis, they were in the top 10 in the run defense. So let's see what he does here with the Bears, because that seems to be a major issue that we need to stop. We've got some good defensive players. I'm glad that they kept Robert Quinn. I don't believe all the lies about him wanting to be out of Chicago. I think that was just taken out of context, and I don't think he's going anywhere. They need a good veteran there. They're already building around with, but I think the offense is going to be using a lot of tie ends and the run game. I am thrilled, like you would not believe, about fullback. We got a fullback. Lisa, fullback. We got a fullback.
Man, you don't hear those words anymore, boy. No. I tell you, and I have gone into conversations with these new NFL analysts that are coming up that absolutely don't think that the NFL teams need running backs and fullbacks. Absolutely. Mia Kumis is, she's one of them. She just absolutely. She would not make it 80s, 90s football. There's no way. I mean, it's like, that was the bread and butter of footballs, you and Barry Sanders, these big fullbacks, Fasaka Polite for us, Polite, you needed a yard, you give it back to the fullback. Remember?
Yeah,
you just give it to the fullback.
Exactly. And that's where the Bears had a great history, because Matt Suey was a fantastic fullback for not only opening lanes and being that blocker for Walter Payton, but he was used on numerous plays himself in getting into the end zone. And
Jim Brown was a fullback.
Exactly.
I love it when children tell me he was the best running back to ever play for the Browns. And I'm like, yeah, but he was a fullback.
Fullback. Right. He was a fullback. And people just forget about that. And it's, I would love, girls, I would love, and I love quarterback play, but I would love to have a team just ride on a fullback and a running back, like the old Cowboys did in the 80s with Emmett, what was his name that they called him? Oh, what was his nickname? Oh, geez, I can't think of his name. I mean, he was a huge fullback for Emmett. Daryl Johnson, the Moose or something they called him. I mean, he was great. Yeah. What I want to know is Rogan Smith he's playing in his 5th year option this year. Looks like he could be a big. Looks like he could. If he has a big season, he could head into free agency. Is he a good fit with Eberfloss's system? Do you think? You have him and Quinn, so that's pretty solid defensively.
We get to call him Coach Flus. I heard Wanda say it. We're gonna call him Coach Flus. Yeah, we're gonna call him Flus.
I think Roquan is gonna fit fine in the system because Roquan he's a sideline to sideline linebacker, so I think he's gonna fit in pretty well. I'm not sure, depending on how he does, I would love to see them pick up his 5th-year option. But again, you never know I was shocked, kind of shocked when they traded Khalil Mack, but kind of not, because I just kind of saw the writing on the wall on that one. So I knew that was going to happen. And just to see what they're going to do or who comes up in defense that's just going to shine and blast them. I'm excited about the 2 corners that we got. I really am excited. I'm excited about Jaquan Brisker and
Jalen Johnson, right? Isn't Jalen Johnson the other guy you picked up?
Yeah. So there's okay. Jalen Johnson. Yeah, Eddie Jackson. Hopefully Eddie Jackson at safety comes up. He kind of he did really well his rookie year, then kind of wavered up and down. The I call him the rookie yips. So he just kind of did that. We'll see what happens with this season and the whole buildup, and maybe feeling like there's someone else that's going to give them a competition of playing. We'll see how that works. Sometimes that helps these players. I'm like, okay, I want to build up. I need to keep that competition. But Jaquan Brisker, the one that we got off of Penn State, that kid's a ball hawk.
That's what you want, right?
That's what you want. You want them to jump in front and read the quarterback, do the job they're supposed to do. And that's what I'm hoping that these two and Kyler Jordan, I think out of Washington, I think he's gonna be, and I hope, I don't know, you don't see this very often, but you want these sticky guys. You want these corners. They're gonna ride these wide receivers and make sure that they're not just catching the ball left and right. That's the beauty of what was going on with Aaron Rodgers. That's how he gets the Bears every time. So if we can get these corners to do what they're supposed to do and be these sticky hands around these wide receivers, you have a chance to at least, take some balls away. And that's what we need.
How many coaches has Aaron Rodgers cost the Bears?
Oh my gosh, too many.
Right? I saw that in a question the other day. It's
like, how many coaches?
He's a coach killer. I mean, it's like, and speaking of coach killers, I have to talk to you because I'm going to go off script here with Mitchell Trubisky. Yeah, I know I'm going back to the question. I want to get your opinion because Kate already knows my thing. I honestly think Mitch sitting a year behind Josh Allen is going to make a world difference. I loved Mitch's arm. I think he's going to be a great quarterback. I thought it was the coaching that really held him back. I just want to get your opinion of what you think about Mitchell Trubisky and him signing with the Steelers, and what do you think of his ceiling, and has it changed your opinion of him at all?
I agree with you. I think, unfortunately, for Mitch, he wasn't. They didn't give him what he needed, in playmakers, in plays. It was kind of like the Matt Nagy show, unfortunately, and he just kind of brought this kid down. You could tell by his demeanor. You could tell by the way he played. He wanted to do more than he could, and wanted to compete with some of these other guys that's not where he was. So they didn't play to his strengths. I agree. He should have stayed at least a year behind Josh Allen and learning some of the things, like relearning what he didn't learn and relearning that stuff. But as a starter for the Steelers, it's very possible he could thrive. Maybe he just needs a different place. I don't know how Tomlin is going to be. I don't know how high his ceiling is going to be. It's going to be about, can Mitch do what he did in North Carolina? Can he do what he did the first year, his rookie year, second rookie year, when we had that magical season that was disappeared by kick.
When you could call him a Pro Bowler.
Yeah. Yeah, that was questionable there. That he shouldn't have been a Pro Bowler, but
yeah, we watched a lot of Mitch Trubisky here in Cleveland because he's a local boy. He went to high school here. We watched him a lot, and my thing was the Bears really risked a lot to go get him,
right?
And take him in the draft. And when you move that to take someone in the first round of the draft, you do that for somebody that's going to start right away. And he was clearly not ready to start right away. And then if you're going to make him start right away, you at least do everything you can to surround him with talent. You design plays that work to his strengths. And I didn't feel like Nagy did any of that for that kid. Now that he's in Pittsburgh, he's sitting there and he's looking down the bench, and there's Kenny Pickett, who they just drafted, and Mason Rudolph, who I can't even talk about. So, I mean,
yeah,
Rudolph's gone. So now it's Kenny Pickett. So now he's going to have Kenny Pickett
which is
right
good.
on his butt. There's going to be a quarterback competition in camp.
I love it.
Yep.
I love it.
And it should be that way. And there should be that light of fire in, because Trubisky now has to see himself as a veteran. So here you go, dude. You're the one that's going to lead. You're going to show him. Now you got to show him how it's done, how to lead your team, how to lead your offense, make sure that he knows. And it's great because he's starting to got the guys over, they started throwing the ball together. He wanted to have that relationship with his offense and so on. That's great leadership. I think
and he's still on his rookie deal.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest mistakes is that a lot of these coaches are so pressured to push these young guys out there, unless they are like, certain ones that are NFL ready. Like there are certain ones that are, Justin Herbert is just an anomaly. That guy just you were able to put him out there and he took the Chargers out there, but he should have gone to Miami. But with like Justin Fields, that situation there was horrible because he'd go in, first he wasn't starting and it was Andy Dalton, then he pulls him out, and then a couple of times he was pulled out and they threw in Andy Dalton. How do you then teach someone and even build up the confidence of him to get that repertoire with his team and learn to command the offense to do what he needs to do if you're going to keep pulling him back and forth, back and forth, back and forth? Either you let him sit, let him learn, let him practice, do what they need to do, and then your next year, now you got them starting and they're ready to go. Or you're going to play this back and forth game that ruins the quarterback. That happened with Mitch as well. It was Mike Glennon. Oh
my God, Mike Glennon.
Mike Glennon. Yes. And that whole situation, and then putting in Trubisky. And of course, it was the pressure. It was the constant pressure because if I recall, John Fox did not want to put Trubisky in.
No.
He was forced to. He was forced to put him in, and he just kind of like let it go. And now here's Matt Nagy comes in. He's got all these schemes. First year, all these gadget plays, everything. It was tremendous. Second year, it was, I got nothing. Third year, I got nothing.
Yeah.
and it was
his playbook dried up.
Yeah, it did pretty fast because that third year playbook was all about Kansas City. Everything was, how can I be like Kansas City? And this is what I like about Coach Flus and Getsy and going for different. Let's build our own team. You see Dan Campbell doing the same thing with the Lions. Let's build our own team. Let's build our own identity and move forward. Let's win games this way instead of us trying to be like Kansas City, be like Tampa Bay, be like Green Bay. They've got their own teams. They do their own thing. It's time to start and make your own team and make it a name. Even the history that we have as the Monsters of the Midway. We need to forget, I'm sorry, but we need to forget the Monsters of the Midway. They were the Monsters of the Midway then. They earned that right. When we can get to that point, then let's give ourselves a fantastic name, whatever it is.
But we do that in sports all the time, right? When these guys are coming out to get drafted, they're like, who's he like? Oh, he's the next this guy, he's the next.
Right. Yeah.
They were saying that Malik Willis is going to be the next Lamar Jackson. I'm like, why can't he just be the first Malik Willis? Why does this defense have to be the next monsters of the Midway? Why can't they be, this team? Of course, Justin Fields is an Ohio State guy, so I loved him. I really thought they would have moved up a little bit or done something to get him one of the Ohio State wide receivers in this year's draft. Because if you looked at what Cincinnati did, I 1,000% believe they got to the Super Bowl because they drafted Jamar Chase for Joe Burrow. And I thought, now if Justin can get a hold of Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave or one of his Buckeye receivers and get him a receiver. He had 7 touchdowns last year, 10 interceptions, and 12 fumbles. Dude's got to hold on to the ball this year. That's going to be a big thing, is ball security for him more than any other quarterback in this division. Kurt had some ball security issues, and they were just at bad times. Justin, when you're giving the ball away more than you're scoring, that's bad. And I really thought they were going to get him one of those Ohio State receivers to follow that pattern of what Cincinnati did, and they didn't. Yeah. And I'm not sure what they're going to do, but
they would have to give up too much to try to get him.
Probably.
At that point, yeah.
Players they got, you're right. Their first 3 or 4 picks, I thought were really good. And you're right. It would have cost you probably 2 of those picks to go get a receiver. So
exactly. So
we'll see how they do this year. I'm rooting for him. You keep getting quarterbacks I like, so I got to look, watch them and follow them and see how they're doing. Plus, I'm tired of Green Bay winning this division every year. I'm sick of them. I don't like them. They're not likable.
It's me. Wanda and we were in the same boat with Brady. I mean, how many times did we just all retool in the AFC to go after New England? And I feel like the Bears, Vikings, and the Lions are doing the same thing. We bring in quarterbacks, we draft quarterbacks until you get that quarterback that can, fill the shoes. You're going to be chasing Green Bay every single year. You're going to be compared to Green Bay. Like I said, I can name 3 coaches that I think Aaron Rodgers has cost the Bears because they just couldn't get the job done to go after the Packers.
Oh yeah. Trestman didn't even have a chance.
Right.
He was that. He had no chance there. You had Fox had no chance.
Right.
It was just not. It was just kind of like past that point. I mean, we think about the defense, and it's all about the defense. And you know how I love my defense.
Right.
But at some point, we have to be more than just the defense. We have to be offense and get that game running. And we've got a tremendous young man in Justin Fields. I think he's got the talent. I think he's got the chutzpah. I think he's got the moxie. He can get out there and do what I watched him play in Ohio State, and I thought he did fantastic. But just like Kate says, you get him that wide receiver that he can just ball out to. You're going to have the same results as Cincinnati had, with Jamar Chase. Yeah. And look at the same thing. Look at what Jalen Hurts is doing with Devontae Smith, and how he did it. And they moved on there. So, the recipe is being done here. It's just enough of what can we do to be like Aaron Rodgers or Green Bay, or let's just be Chicago Bears, learn what we need to do like every other freaking team in the NFL and play football.
Yeah.
And just get out there.
Yeah, I mean, to Lisa's point, the Vikings, the Lions, and the Bears are all trying to figure out how to beat Green Bay. But you know what? That's 2 games out of 17.
Correct.
15-2 will get you to the playoffs.
Yep.
Right? If you can't beat Aaron Rodgers, you don't have to. There are 15 other games on your schedule.
You need to get there.
I think it's interesting to look at some of the other divisions, and I can't wait till we really break down the AFC North. That's a division now that Ben is gone that is completely up for grabs from a quarterback standpoint.
Right, yeah.
You've got 4 – and Deshaun may be an older quarterback than the rest of them, but he's been out for a while. So you've got 4 quarterbacks that are going to be vying for supremacy in that division. You 2 are just stuck with Lisa got rid of Tom Brady, moved him to the NFC South, and now he's doing the same thing Aaron Rodgers is doing. You have the Tampa Bay and the Packers up here, and then you have this huge before you get to everybody else. Kansas City was doing that for a little while, and they kind of came back to the pack this year with Pat Mahomes. The other teams kind of up their game. But again, if you look at that division, they didn't do it by beating the Chiefs. They did it by beating everyone else who's on their schedule.
Right.
And I think that's where the Bears did better this offseason with the draft and everything, is they did better at making themselves a complete team, not making themselves a team that can beat Aaron Rodgers.
That's correct. That's correct.
That's only 2 games out of 17.
That's right. That's right. And I think that's where the mentality came with Coach Flus. And Ryan Poles. It is more than just the division. We need to beat all the other teams. So how do we do that? We need to develop and get these players to where they need to be. We need a defense. We need an offense. We need special teams. It's more than just
60 minutes.
60 minutes, both sides of the ball.
Yep, 60 minutes. We talk about it all the time. 60 minutes, both sides of the ball and special teams.
Yeah.
So those damn kickers matter sometimes, but you ain't
got to tell Wanda about kickers.
I know. Anytime. Hey, Wanda, thank you so much. Kate, are we done with the NFC?
We are done with NFC South next week.
Well, the Bucs,
NFC South next week. We'll talk about Tom Brady and the Falcons and the Saints and the Panthers. That will wrap up next week. We will wrap up the NFC with the NFC South.
All right, guys. Thank you so much, Wanda. Hey, one more. I'm pulling for you. I will. Justin Fields. I loved it when they moved up and got him. Thought that was a hell of a move. So we'll be rooting for you. Kate, I think it's you and I again next week.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kate and I will be back here next Tuesday night, and we are going to hit the NFC South. Camden, thank you so much for joining us. Everybody who watched, thank you. Please join us again next Tuesday. But we are out for now, ladies. Thank you, Wanda, again.
Thanks, ladies.